You have 45 minutes in the group.
Thank you.
So thank you, Signe. And it was good to learn about Edita. I think I didn't know her a bit more than a week ago.
Goes both ways.
Vice versa. When we were asked to, give this inspirational dialogue, so we both have been at the 2019 forum, but that was a bigger forum, more like 120 people or something like that. So we didn't really connect there. But then we talked on Zoom, and we found some common ground, even though we come from different ends of the Europe in a way as well, and also from very different perspectives. So So shall you talk a bit about 2019 and your discoveries here?
Yes. So hello everybody again. I'm pretty proud to be here today among you, and I'm also very proud to have the opportunity to work together, to be engaged in different dialogues, and to talk about our field. I will not call it industry for certain purposes, I will call it our field, our goal. I remember being here in the same format in 2019, and what really struck me is the idea. I went home with this idea. We were all there, and we actually shared the same vision. We were very passionate about it. We talked about the problems, we talked about solutions. And then when I went home, I had this great feeling of the community, because we are actually a community. But it was also very interesting to find out that we shared some similarities in problems, in obstacles, that we care to call, how we call it, challenges and potentials. It is much better when you're dealing with how to solve it. So this was my first experience, and I was really, really happy to come back. But also because, I don't know if you know it, the format that they have prepared for us, it's a very innovative, specific design. We are all guided to the workshops, and we all give the best in a really amount of time, which is really limited. And I think that we do have real occasions in which we can meet together and work together. I think this is one of the, if not the only platform, that gather together all the actors, if we can call it like that, from our field, industry, film field, sorry. And you are here in the audience representing each part of this valuable chain of activities. And I'm very happy to be here, and I was really, really interested in understanding you, your businesses, and your challenges. So I give back to Petri, who will also share his own experience.
For me, it's been a curve. I was very puzzled when I came here. I didn't know what to expect, but I had some hopes. And after last night, I think I've learned so much more than I thought, actually, that I would learn. After Weimar, I was a bit, puzzled, because it was a great declaration, but nothing very concrete seemed to happen. Of course, there was the pandemic and so on, but now I realize that actually things have been happening. For example, the example what Jeanette was talking about, the networking building for cinemas, and how it was received here yesterday, and how it will probably going to be spread, all over, hopefully. That's one of the findings. And then I was all the time in my group that was very generous in reflecting about their different positions. We were, talking about data, how much we needed, and suddenly I realized that there is a data gathering going on. So in a way, a lot of things that came from the groups and from the inspirational insights that we got, that's been super, super relevant and interesting. Not only interesting, but also inspiring, that actually things are happening on at least on a national or regional level, or in different fields of this part of the film community.
Yes. I would like to add something about the task we had in these 2 days, a day and a half. we were actually asked to envision a policy that will somehow resolve all the issues that we are dealing with in children's films. And it was really interesting to see the work groups, the findings. I have prepared myself in advance for some of the topics. Of course, this is what I do. But I changed something that I thought at the beginning. And I have realized that there is no one solution that fits all our contexts, all our countries, all our problems. There are different solutions. And I believe that you can all agree that the greatest value that we might have is actually our network. We are here together. We decided to invest 2 days in being here. It is really a rare occasion to think only about children film strategy, because usually when we go back to our respective countries in our organizations, we deal with a lot of daily businesses. We do not consider the strategy. And very often we do not ask ourselves what we can do. So here we are today to answer that question, what each of us can do to contribute to something that we have envisioned in 2019. And the dream is still on, right?
Absolutely, and even, the most daring question was raised yesterday, I think, or was it today, I can't even remember, or was it overnight? But it was about the content, which is something that we don't dare to speak so much because it's easier to talk about some details, really not related to that. But I think that it came up already yesterday morning when Regio was doing the presentation about the research, and there was something that sparked me about the emotional mirroring and how children react to elevated realities. That made me think, and we discussed it in our group as well, that there must be a difference between a national children's film and also compared to an international children's film. So both are needed, but how to make these films travel across borders is a big puzzle that we don't have an answer. But we feel that there is a need for that, and probably it has something to do with co-production, with access to more funding, with exposing the projects to different players, not making them Euro pudding, but making them something that the children really want to reflect upon. And as we learned yesterday, that we know that our children are curious, but we somehow that feeling was reinforced yesterday.
Yes, we want them to be opinionated and curious young people.
Yeah.
Just mention the co-productions. It's a very important part of networking. And we had some sessions in which we had the opportunity to see the power of networking. So what we really believe, and it was mentioned among all of the group works, networking, and then again another buzzword, loving and loving. We also described and defined our stakeholders. For those who think that this is such an easy task to define as stakeholders, it isn't actually. It isn't, because the stakeholders, they have an influence on our work. But do we actually know? It is pretty easy to list them all, but do we actually know everything about them? Do we have a continuous dialogue with them? Do we know their interests, their obstacles? Do we have the opportunity to talk to them directly, as we had in these 2 days? It is really important if we want to advocate all together, if we want to structure another network or give power and voice to already existing network. We need to understand all their needs behind. I think that the exercise that we had on stakeholders' needs, it's really, really important. And I would like to share with you something that encounters in my consultancy work very often. We developed dozens of strategic development plans for our clients, a lot of them from cultural organizations, not only cinemas, but museums, theaters, concert halls, and so on. They all have one in common. We agree very quickly on vision. We agree also very quickly on goals. And then when it comes to an actual action plan in which we will decide who will do what, when, and with what kind of resources, then we are in trouble. Because defining everything specifically in details, it's really a working plan. a working plan that somebody needs to take a responsibility of. Same goes when you work for national agencies and so on. They all like to have to be included, to give us the opportunity and so on. But of course, please do remember in writing your plans and strategies to add a proper action plan with names, data, and deadlines.
Yeah, and the challenge here comes, of course, from the fact that we are working in so different fields, different levels, and in our national countries or in our regions, the needs might be very different and sparse and varied. And in this kind of situation where we all can meet, the good opportunity is to share really the knowledge and the best practices that we have.
Yes, actually we have heard in these 2 days from many of you what is the right way to start with the development of any kind of policy. There are 2 ways, from top and from bottom. Of course, the ideal one would be to have a streaming direct between top and bottom interests and need. But we are here, we can represent a bottom. So I think that we should ask ourselves what we can do. What we can do within our own organizations. Do we have policies on accessibility to films, to culture? I've heard an expiring presentation of Jeanette on how to include the Convention Right Children in our work. We are doing it for years, but I never remembered to include it also in our strategic documentation. So this is very important. We need to start from our own organizations. We need to start sharing the values that we are developing and dealing with on daily basis, but we do not include them in our presentations, and they are really, really valuable. So think about it. And when we think about what we can do on national and regional level, we can do a lot. You know that it is right now the moment in which Creative Europe as a program is sending to all of us their surveys who have received that survey on email. Some of you, yes? Okay. I hope you filled it. This is our task. This is their way of asking how we feel about the program. Do we have any kind of proposal for that? It's time of re-evaluation of the program. So if many of us reply, if many of us fill that survey and share our knowledges and experience, and please do not forget suggestions. And when they ask you, would you like to participate also to be interviewed on Zoom or what other platform Commission is using today, you need to reply yes.
Well, yeah, that was one of the key learnings actually, that when we were listening to one of the presentations this afternoon, that actually there is a hearing ongoing,
yes.
And we need to be aware of that, because at the time, this is the time to kind of influence the Creative Europe media, which is something that we are part of, most of us. So, what else, Edita?
I was going through my notes actually. Yes, something else that I think that we tackled in these days, but it is never enough to talk about data, to talk about research, the relevance of research and studies. Why? Whenever you approach the need of change to market, the policy that we were discussing, do we need it, what kind of policy, who will bring that policy to whom, and what are our expectations of that policy, we never can go to present our case or pitch our case, if I can use a marketing term, without data, without a real evidence of proof that what we are doing is actually fostering European values and giving a way to their realization, implementation. Nobody talks about that enough, right?
Absolutely, and it was so good to hear today that this kind of project is ongoing. We didn't really know that ECFA and Kids Regio and the observatory are actually planning on doing something. So at least for me, this was a revelation, and I was very happy about that, which brings in mind one other aspect of what we need. And of course, we need better communication about what we are doing in our respective countries and regions. And then, I mean, maybe to conclude, should we conclude or should we still take something up?
Yes, we wanted to share something with you and to ask you something also, right? I already talked to some of you, and this is our proposal for you to the question, what can we do in our countries once we get back home today or tomorrow, depending on trains and airplanes, thanks to European Championship in football, I believe. So luckily we will be in our offices on Monday. The first thing I will do, and I did the same in 2018, I wrote an article about what we have said. I translated the Weimar Declaration, I put a list of all stakeholders that we are dealing with, and I sent out the information with pictures. I informed our Ministry of Culture of the event, I informed the Croatian Audiovisual Center, I informed all of my colleagues, all of our stakeholders of what we were doing, discussing here. And I will do the same next week. So we are...
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do the same as well, even though I was super frustrated about our officials in Finland because they showed very little interest to this conference when I spoke to them beforehand. But I mean, I'm overcome that feeling because of these working groups and these 2 days, so I'm fit for a fight again.
Will you do it? Who will do it? Who will prepare? Good. I think it's very important that we from bottom have the opportunity to share and have the opportunity to influence, to be active participants. This is one of the ways we can do it on our national or regional level. So please do it, and as one of you told me, we all need to be bolder, and we all need to present our cases to those who are so-called policymakers in order to present them the evidence of proof that what we do really matters. The evidence of proof in a very professional way, and not the one, as I usually have the face when somebody asks me anything about the project Film in Hospital. I'm usually like this, because this is something very dear to me. To not be emotional, be very bold, right? Okay? And be very, very professional. We are pitching our idea, and we are bringing the need to those who can support us. So let's just present it, that need, in correct way. Thank you.
Just whatever is written on this and communicated in different countries, could it not be shared by all? Because not everybody may be as good or has the time.
Good point.
And some people can also make a bit of copy and paste in their own language or adapt it, but I think it helps everybody to share this.
Actually, good suggestion, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that you here represent roughly 6,000 members, actors in our supply chain or value chain of the field in children, film field, okay? So, can you imagine 6,000, even more, I've heard before, 6,000 people who may receive and will receive the message of our findings in these 2 days. I think it's amazing.
It is. Do you want to add something to that, Petri?
No.
No. But then I would like to thank you for being so generous in sharing your insights with us, and also being so clear about it's time to take action. Sharing knowledge and data, if you want to change, we have to take responsibility. So thank you for that.
Thank you.